a gummy bear.
It's the internet, you're busy, let's do this for September 7th, 2022. For the next hour or so, let me help you sort through the world of gaming on Game Mess Mornings Live with me, Jeff Grubb. Today, the Chicago bakery was closed on Monday and Tuesday, but we are back and open for business and ready to serve you. But first, please join me in welcoming today's co-host to Game Mess Mornings. It's Kyle Hilliard from GameSpot. Kyle, how are you doing?
Hey, Jeff, how's it going, man? I'm good. When you started saying Chicago, I was like, am I getting introduced? Is Chicago something related to me? But it's not.
No, it's related to the only thing I could think about this week, and that is CM Punk, who during a news conference after a pay-per-view was talking about his favorite bakery and how it's closed on Mondays and Tuesdays. It's a weird reference, but I can't get it out of my head. That's where I'm at this week, where it's all CM Punk all the time. Yeah, exactly. But no, yes, seriously, what you've been up to? I think I used to come on to you, like, used to do like a news show, and I used to come on there, and I'm like, yes, let's return the favor. I'm so glad to get you on here. But what you been up to since the last time we hung out?
Well, GameSpot is now my day job, so we're like kind of co-workers. Yes. I guess I could message you on Slack if I really wanted to.
Yeah, I was opening Slack pretty good there for a few weeks, and then we never use it, so I never have it open. It's on my work computer. When I use my work computer, Slack is there, and then even then I'm like, I don't know. It's like at a certain point I'm like, I think there's some messages on there that I'm just ignoring at this point, but that's the way it goes. But yeah, I mean, it's cool. I'm like, that's a kind of a good fit for you. What's the day-to-day like for you? Are you just like grinding out news, grinding out coverage and new stuff? Like, how's it going?
Well, so I'm the mobile gaming editor, which is GameSpot is making this big push to be more inclusive with mobile gaming. So like I basically run that section, and you know what that means for the site. So like that means working with freelancers to get news on the site. That means coordinating features, and then grabbing features and reviews myself when I am excited to cover something. You know what I mean? Like if it's something I'm excited about, I'll grab it myself. But otherwise, I'm mostly managing the section and making sure that we got lots of content in there. And then of course I'm still doing min-max too. I'm still keeping up with that and doing that almost every week. So
yeah, it's go ahead. Been on here a few weeks ago. I'll probably get him back on eventually. That was a good time. But covering mobile games it's always such a challenge, because it's the kind of thing where people can really keep it at arm's length. Because if you want to check something out, most of it's free, so it's like they just go check out themselves. So I think finding the interesting angles of like talking about the stories and why people should care about that stuff is a worthwhile endeavor. And I'm glad someone's on the case. So that's awesome.
Yeah, so that's the weird challenge, because like, I mean, it's pretty safe to say I don't think it's like that most people play mobile games. Like a lot of people, you know, they're playing at least one or two mobile games while they're also playing everything else. And then my challenge at GameSpot is like, how do we talk about that part of your gaming life in an interesting way?
Absolutely.
So I'm trying to figure that out and figure out what people want to read about.
Well, I'm interested in keeping up with it, and I appreciate that. Okay, before we get into the mess, let's explain what we do here. Each weekday, I, Jeff Grubb, will help piece your gaming life back together. That includes breaking news, the catch-up where we discuss the biggest topics consuming the lives of gamers everywhere, and maybe even bring in some of our own original reporting. For all these topics, I'll get the input of a bona fide expert who will make me look smart. If you are watching live on Twitch, welcome. Hello, Twitch. We appreciate you showing up. You can always listen to the show later on podcast feeds by searching for Game Mess Mornings, or find the RSS on giantbomb.com. You can also catch the show later with chapters and timestamps on YouTube. Hello, YouTube. Okay, we really do have a lot to get into today, so let's start the morning mess with Nintendo announces Nintendo Switch OLED model Pokemon Scarlet and Violet Edition. This is launching in November, and basically it's just another standalone model where you could just get the special edition of a Switch OLED. No new features other than it's got some Pokemon art on it. It is going to be $360. It is launching, I believe, on November 4th in the lead up to the November 18th release of the games. I believe that's right for that date. But I also have a video here. Kyle, where are you at with like these special edition Nintendo consoles? The OLED model, I think, specifically is a pretty interesting choice for Nintendo for Pokemon, because Pokemon always certainly has, they treat it as their handheld game, so they would go with the Lite. But now they're going with the top end model, OLED. Do they feel like, okay, we've hit the Lite before, now we go with the high end because this is the new generation of Pokemon, and this is gonna do so well. Let's hit as many people with this model as possible.
Yeah, I mean, I think so. They did have a Lite. They did do a Lite version.
Yeah,
my thought is just like they would just want to, do the best version that they could charge the most for with Pokemon stuff on it. Like that, it seems almost like simple to me in that way. Like the OLED is as much a handheld as the Lite, even though I guess like for the sort of the casual parent, that's the Lite is the more appealing thing to get for their child.
Right.
I assumed it was day and day with the game, but I'm surprised that it's a week or two before?
It arrives November 4th, and then the game, I'll read this right here. My Nintendo Store, it's available there at a suggested retail price of $360. Pokemon Scarlet and Pokemon Violet, the latest chapters in the Pokemon series, launch for the Nintendo Switch family of systems on November 18th, separately for $60. So you don't get the games with this, even though it's a $10 premium on top of the OLED anyhow. And then, yes, the games come out on the 18th. This system will be available on the 4th. So, yeah, they're kind of like leading into it, building it up. But it is a little bit strange that it's not day and day, but I suppose it's also not going to hurt anything that it's not day and day, right?
I'm trying to think is that how they usually do it? I
don't remember. I don't think so.
I don't buy a ton of those special edition consoles, but I feel like
Splatoon 3 just had a special edition OLED, right? That's launching on the same day, I thought. Okay. So yeah,
then like I remember like the Zelda 3DS and stuff like that. Like those came out the same days as various Zelda games, but I guess not here. I guess that's not the case.
Yeah. I also like this. All the stuff I'm reading is coming from Nintendo's press release, and they're like, you can get the double pack of Pokemon Scarlet and Violet for the low price of twice the price, the $120. I'm like, okay, thanks Nintendo for the good deal. This is gonna be pretty successful for them. Pokemon always is.
You think? Really? You're calling that now?
I'm gonna call it now. I am not afraid to say it. I think it's time someone does. And I'm here. I'm putting my foot on the ground, saying this is gonna be successful. And it also like is the kind of thing where they can put out this OLED, and it's not like they're launching a Switch Lite OLED, which would be a whole new thing, and they got to do a whole new marketing campaign for that. Like, what do you think of like in terms of like the lineup of future hardware for Nintendo and where this fits?
The thing that I actually think I want, other than like, I want this sort of the version of the Switch that is just better hardware that runs games better, right? Like that's the one everybody wants. I want that for sure. But like, second to that, I would love just a Switch Lite with an OLED.
Me too.
Like that's what I play predominantly is my Switch Lite, and I am a sucker. I pretty much buy every new iteration of a console that has like an upgrade from Nintendo. But I did hold out on the Switch OLED. Like I was very proud of myself, although we did buy one in the last couple weeks. But because I was like, that's not how I play the Switch. I don't care if the games aren't improved. I'm not going to play it that way. So, but like if they did an OLED Switch Lite, that would be really exciting for me. Second to like actually having a Switch 1.5 or a 2.0 or whatever you want to call it.
Right. It feels like that's where we're at too, where Switch Lite OLED would probably have made some sense at some point. The split is that the more expensive versions do tend to sell significantly more than the Lite. But it's not like the Lite is some failure. It's still sold millions and millions of units.
It's my favorite. Like I love it. Like especially I love the Steam Deck.
It's the best handheld ever. It's the best handheld ever. Yeah.
Like I love the Steam Deck, but like it's funny to go between the Steam Deck over to the Switch Lite. It's like it's amazing because it's so much lighter. It's so light. It feels so good.
And it's something about having the not having the Joy-Cons, having that all just be one unit makes it so much more comfortable beyond the ergonomics and beyond the weight. It's just like it feels so much sturdier that I don't feel my hands like compensating for like, oh, maybe the Joy-Cons are going to come loose or something like that, which is a subconscious thing that happens with me to this day with the OLED Switch.
I just always have to mess with them and like detach them while I'm waiting up for loading screens and stuff like that. So that's my problem though.
But the OLED model is fantastic. It's got that screen is incredible, and they are selling it for a higher price. So this enables them to basically maximize the amount of money that they're going to get from people who are Pokemon fans. This, they've sold these special edition consoles, the Splatoon 3 version, the OLED one, that was also $360. So this is not really a price increase, but $360 without the game is more than like when the Switch launched in 2017 and was $300. They have found ways to continue to tack on a little bit extra money there at the top wherever they can, whether it was with the OLED or whether it is with these special editions that don't include the game. And so Nintendo, while Sony is just like, no, screw them. If you're not an American, we're raising the price on you. We don't really care. You're going to pay it. We know you're going to pay it. Nintendo being a little bit more diplomatic about it and kind of like trying to like finagle it. But they are basically doing the same thing of raising their average sales price for the hardware, right?
Yeah, we'll etch some pictures of Pokemon on this thing.
Exactly. Yes.
Charge a little more.
We'll throw some graffiti tags up on the back of your Switch and charge you a little bit extra. And everyone's happy, right? Yes, exactly. Speaking of Pokemon Scarlet and Violet, a new trailer revealed all new Pokemon and story details. I picked up just a few tidbits here from Michael McWhorter at Polygon. In Pokemon Scarlet and Violet, players will take on the role of students enrolled in a Paldean school, and they'll embark on a treasure hunt study project. Along the way, they'll encounter competitors in gyms, search for a rare ingredient called Herba Mystica, which is my favorite strain, by the way, with a fellow student named Arvin, and challenge Team Star, a group of delinquents. Let's see, Pokemon Scarlet and Violet's new trailer also reveals 3 new Pokemon: Armor Rogue, the Fire Warrior Pokemon, Ceruledge, Fire Blades Pokemon, and Cloth, the ambush Pokemon.
How do you spell that?
Klawf. Sounds German.
Cloth.
Okay. He is Cloth.
Claw. Is that like Inspector Gadget or something? What's
yes, Claw, and that was also spelled with a K, right? Claw with a K.
So.
Yeah, that sounds right. So maybe it's just an arm with the. Oh, that was just in the intro. He actually is more than an arm, but in the intro he's always just the arm, right? And it exploded.
Yeah. And then his face was revealed if you beat the Super Nintendo game, as we all know.
Right, and that's how you saw him. It was it was Jerry Springer. It was weird. I was like trying to pull a name. I'm like, really, Jeff? We're going with Jerry Springer? All right. It's the first Game Mess mornings of the week somehow, and it's Wednesday. This is the show today. Where are you at with Pokemon in terms of your excitement and kind of a new generation and them like continuously having to reveal new Pokemon? I think the Pokemon they are showing do look pretty cool. I'm like still not sure if this is the game for me as someone who was really enjoying Legends Arceus. Where are you at?
I mean, these are the ones that look like Mega Man characters, right?
Yeah,
like they look
I
like
can see that
Mega Man Zero era of Mega Man. Pokemon is like something that I was very close to for a long time. When I was at Game Informer, I was basically on the Pokemon beat. I reviewed most of the games while I was there. I visited Game Freak in Japan, like for like a big story about the history of Pokemon, and like got to visit the studio and all these things, which was like they had not let a lot of American journalists in there, so that was like a really cool experience.
Mm-hmm.
But since then, Pokemon has become a thing I experience through my child's eyes, kind of, because she's really excited about it and really enjoys it. And she literally, like, one of the first games she beat was Pokemon Sword, because she literally took the Switch from my hands and said, I want to play this. And I never got it back. So, I kind of played the first 20 minutes of Sword, and then she stole it. Mm-hmm. And since then, I've only kind of dabbled. Like, I played like the first hour or so of Arceus. Scarlet, like, that's totally going to be one I just hand to my kid and look over her shoulder and check it out and see what it's like there. So I don't know if I will actually actively play it and put in, whatever the 40 hours or however long it takes to beat a Pokemon game. But I don't know, maybe the feedback will be really incredible and people will be like, this is one you cannot miss. And if
exactly
that's the case,
for me.
Then I'll check it out and I'll play with my kid and it'll be a good old time.
Yeah. And it's like, there's always the possibility for that. And also there's always more Pokemon. So if I miss this one, I'll get on the boat next time. And that's totally fine. And maybe it'll be some different take on it that fits with me a little bit better or whatever. But yeah, like you said, if the response to this is at a fever pitch and people say you can't ignore it, then I won't. I'll check in on it and that's fine. For now, I'm going to go back to Legends Arceus and beat that.
mean, I think I am more interested in that trajectory of Pokemon, right? I think it's safe to assume that I think there's going to be two paths now, right? Like a more
Yes.
traditional Pokemon and something, and they're just going to keep iterating on Arceus, and I think that's more in line of what I'd want to play. I think
Yes.
I say that now. Check back in a couple of years.
Yeah, we'll see. Yep. All right. Let's get to some of these stories. I put no rhyme or reason to the ordering of these stories today, everybody. So just deal with me. Rolling out today: party chat, noise suppression, and jump in with friends for the Xbox. This comes from Kristen Mann, the principal group program manager at Xbox Experiences on the Xbox News blog. Party chat noise suppression is now available, and as well as jump right in. Noise suppression helps remove noises like gamepad clicks, breathing, and background noise from your parties. This is something that's more and more available on more like voice, like computer voice programs. Obviously, Discord has like Crisp built in. It like really makes your voice sound very processed on something like that. But then you also have something like RTX Broadcast, which I'm using actually through the OBS here, so that you can't hear my kid yelling at me a bunch over there. And it works. That stuff works pretty well. And it's the kind of thing that can maybe make playing games with other people online, maybe especially strangers, a little bit more tolerable, so you don't get the bleed in of the cacophony of a busy house, like taking over a game of Call of Duty or whatever. This is a pretty cool feature, right?
Yeah, I mean, there was something fun about that early era
Yeah.
of online gaming where you're like, what is happening?
Yeah.
Like this small insight into this other stranger's world where it's just like, every few minutes you just hear them yelling at somebody in the background or some sound that you just cannot identify, and like no one in your friend group can. I guess that'll be missed.
Yeah, like the baby's crying and the mom's yelling like, come down for dinner and stuff like that. Maybe that stuff will still get through. This is almost certainly going to mean the end of, and maybe I'm a little nostalgic for it, the end of the smoke detector beep of the battery is dead, and every like 2 minutes it just goes beep, and you just hear that, you're like, okay, someone please just go unplug it or something. I mean, I don't care if you burn to death. I just can't take this beeping anymore. And so, yeah, that is probably going to get destroyed by this noise suppression thing. And I'm going to miss it now. I'm going to miss it. I grew accustomed to it. And now it's in its absence, I will realize what we really had all along.
Yeah, it's that thing that you become instantly nostalgic for when it's gone, even though it was like there's nothing good about it. It's just all terrible. It just reminds you of that early era of online gaming.
Absolutely. And then this other feature is pretty neat. I'm not exactly sure how it's going to work, but here's how they describe it. Millions of Xbox gamers share game clips and screenshots with their friends, and link sharing and released late last year. So this is a feature where you could just like from the game really quick share some stuff from the game, and it had some like smart details about what you were playing. Now with friends you share your game clips and screenshots with, they can not only just like look at the captures, they could start playing right away on their devices with cloud gaming. So I think like if you share a picture of you playing a game, a screenshot, they can click on that screenshot and it will open up an Xbox cloud gaming instance of that moment in the game, or will they be able to join you? I'm not exactly sure how that's supposed to work, but it sounds very much like stuff that Stadia was promising, and now here's Xbox just kind of adding it as a feature without people really even asking for it, and it's like, oh, that's pretty neat. I mean, I can imagine some use cases for something along these lines. I also can imagine me probably never really using it.
Yeah, it's the sort of marketing pitch and the commercials for those kind of features are always like, even when they first showed, where you could tell your Kinect, hey, Xbox, capture that or whatever, they would always show people like sharing cool cutscene, moments from the game. It's like, wow, that was really cool. Nobody uses it for that kind of thing, right? It might as well just be a dedicated like glitch button, right? Like it's just something that like that captures glitches, and like I don't think anyone would ever share like, oh wow, that moment was really cool, I'm going to share a screenshot of it and my friends will be able to play it, because no one's going to want to be like, oh I want to jump to 40 hours into this game to experience this one moment. Like that is a totally separate experience that I don't want to have on my own. But if someone is able to like screenshot a crazy glitch that is happening,
Mm-hmm.
and then someone can jump into that instance where it's like, oh my gosh, you clipped through the wall, and now I can go to that and be clipped through the wall and explore. I feel like that's the only instance where it's like going to be used, honestly.
Right. And if that's even if how it works, I think like maybe we're assuming that it's going to be capable of that, like doing a save state sort of thing, I guess, and propagating that through the cloud. It sounds strange. Maybe it is much simpler than that, and it just is like, oh, this is that game. Click this button, and we'll open the game. In which case, it is inherently less interesting at the same time. It's like, oh, so it's just a link to a video game at that point. Okay.
I mean,
sure.
I get, like, conceptually, it's an interesting idea. Like, you see a screenshot from a game, and then you can jump to that in your own game. Like, that's technology-wise, it's like, oh, that's cool that we can do that. But I don't know that it'll be really taken advantage of. I can't really, I can't imagine an instance where I would want to do that. But
I can
maybe,
think of.
Maybe there is. I don't know.
Have you seen Arcade Pit on the website giantbomb.com?
I'm aware of it. I don't know that I've watched an episode of it.
The way Smite sets some of that stuff up, and Smite is the guy that hosts and like helps to run the show and kind of gets it all set up. The way he does that stuff, I could see maybe him finding a use for that sort of thing, where he can like, oh, now I can bring in some modern games instead of all retro games, and that could be very cool. Like very creative people come up with very creative uses for it. That seems possible. That's true. But again,
especially
that's assuming that works this way. Yeah, what's that?
Especially from like a broadcasting sort of entertainment perspective. That's a good point of like you can do interesting things with it to make weird videos and stuff like that. That's true.
Exactly. All right. The new PS5 model has a completely redone internal design, according to a teardown. We've talked about this new PS5 model, which is the second revision, so the third overall model of the PS5, basically the CFI 1200. This comes from Chris Scullion at VGC. The latest iteration of the PlayStation 5 has a surprisingly different internal design, according to a new teardown video. Tech YouTuber Austin Evans acquired a new CFI 1200 model of the PlayStation 5 Digital Edition, which is available in Australia right now, and only in Australia. Evans is of the opinion that the CFI 1200 is a better system due to numerous changes made to the console's internal components. Basically, I watched the video. The big thing here, like in terms of things you can measure that he was able to measure, where that it's running about the same temperature, whatever. That stuff doesn't really matter. It only matters if it overheats. These things can run pretty hot, whatever. It wasn't louder, not really, and it also used significantly less energy. I think it was like something along the lines of 10 to 15% less energy or something like that. Pretty in that range. And that's significant. And he was not able to pinpoint why that was happening. My guess is, and we will probably get this in follow-up videos and follow-up teardowns, this is using the more energy-efficient 6-nanometer process chip that has been promised, and that enabled them to cut down on all the cooling even more, and they're using a shorter, smaller motherboard. It seems honestly like if you look at what is inside here, it is much smaller internal components. Like they very well could be introducing a Slim very soon based on what they've done here, and there was no reason to rush that out, but doing all this other stuff saves them a lot of time and money, because it's easier to produce these things, and they're cheaper and they use less components, and all that stuff saves them money. That doesn't mean anyone should be rushing out to get one of these things, even if it is like better, because your PS5 right now is basically running games exactly the same without any doubts. But it's interesting that this happens at the same time that Sony is raising the prices on the PS5 everywhere else, right?
And this is it's weighs less, right? That's the other.
Yes, it's significantly lighter. Right, that was like on the box when we talked about it last time. It is about a half a kilo lighter of the original model, and like 2.25 kilos lighter than the previous model. And what's interesting is if you just measure the motherboard and the cooling assembly and the processor, all like if you just take that out and measure it, that's actually even lighter, like relative to the previous motherboards and all that other stuff. So like the chassis itself, like the box itself, added some more like plastic and like structure to like keep it like sturdier or something like that. So it was like weird that they're like taking away components and adding more materials in some other areas. But yes, overall it is lighter, and it's it seems to just come down to them making revisions that save them money and not passing that on to the customer.
Yeah, right. This is not you can't really get one of these in North America, right?
Not yet, but
Australia?
by this holiday, I bet this is going to be one of the main versions you would be able to get. It's available in Australia right now. It launches September 15th in Japan, which is the same day the price goes up. And then I'm sure eventually it'll like propagate everywhere, and this will just be their normal model. Because again, it's going to save them money. This should replace the previous version slowly over time. I'm no supply chain expert, so I would imagine that there's some like time in like spooling up a new fabrication facility while the other one's still going, and you can't just like turn that old one into like, okay, now you make the new PS5s. That takes time, so there'll be some like handover process. But because these new systems are almost certainly saving them quite a bit of money, they will want to do that handoff. The 6 nanometer process, it's almost has to be the answer to this. Kind of nothing really makes sense unless they found some processing algorithm that they were just putting in this new model and not adding as an update to the previous models, which wouldn't make sense either. They would just like do that for everything. So this is the kind of thing that happens frequently with consoles. These companies make revisions all the time. They can make things smaller and cheaper. Sometimes though, they take these advances that they get from efficiency and they put that towards the power, and they give us Pro models. Do you think we are on a pathway to a PS5 Pro anytime soon?
Yeah. I mean, I feel like the last generation proved that those are like super viable and people will buy them. And I think so. I'm not a supply chain expert. I don't know if that surprises you in any way, but like
That's why I brought you on, Kyle. You're embarrassing me.
I'm sorry. I misrepresented myself. But I don't know. It seems like they're still almost getting to a point where they're not struggling to just get standard PS5s in stores. So
right.
like in that sense, I would be surprised if a Pro was on the way, like soon, like within the next year and a half. But like certainly eventually, it seems like impossible that it won't exist. Like it has to be on the way. The thing that I really want from a PlayStation 5 more than anything is just a redesign of just the amount of physical space that thing takes up. Like,
yes,
it's so big.
Well, let me ask you that then. Like, do you think? Because I like have reservations about a Pro, mostly coming down to the reason we got a PS4 Pro was, for one, the PS4 and the Xbox One, both at the launch in the last generation, they sucked. They were terrible consoles. They were just bad. So Pro really helped on that side of things. But the Pro also helped keep the price high because the price was just naturally coming down over time, and they wanted to keep the price high to really hit the core customer that is willing to upgrade and spend that money. This time around, I think that the PS5 is so good that there might not be that same pressure. That doesn't mean that they won't try to hit that same audience again with a more expensive PS5 Pro, but whatever. Clearly, though, there would be demand for a Slim with more storage in it. And do you think that that's something they would do at the same time as a Pro, or maybe do first in the run-up to maybe some sort of upgrade later down the line?
So you're saying, will they do a Pro or will they do a redesign?
A Slim, yes. Like, what is more likely
Slim.
first, I guess, is the question. Yeah.
I think it's the same thing. I think the Pro will be smaller.
Okay.
That's what I would assume. Yeah,
Maybe instead of separating these things out as separate products, they do it all at once to make this a very appealing upgrade that would be maybe able to sell for $600. Because I'm just not expecting the price of the PS5 to go down anytime soon.
No.
So I mean, by soon I mean like 3 years. I'd be surprised if we see the price of this thing really go down in any meaningful way, because they have a long pathway to get to that 100 million again, and as they've shown, there's a lot of demand, and that demand will continue, and it'll only increase for that certain audience as more and more games take advantage of the consoles. So yeah, I could see that. Honestly, it could go in any direction, and especially with PlayStation, I feel like they think they could get away with doing even more because the demand is so strong in so many of these territories. So,
I mean, I guess the Switch OLED proves that like you don't really need a massive change. It's just like one little thing is enough to get people in the door, and maybe in that sense, maybe it will be a redesign before there's a Pro version. But I mean, as a consumer, I would rather it just give me one thing, right?
Yeah.
I'd give me the Pro smaller. Please give me a smaller PlayStation 5. That thing is ridiculous. Like, it is absurd how massive that thing is, and it's also like a weird shape. So it's like hard to fit into a cabinet. Like they had to sell a stand to go with it just so you can put it on its side. It's like, I don't know. And it's so funny because the Series X is so simple. It's just like it's just a cube.
Like it's hard to imagine a smaller Xbox Series X, right? They've already like squished it down as much as they could. Yeah.
I mean, even that'd be cool too. But even just like the design of that cube, just it looks nice and it's so much simpler to integrate into your like TV console. Like the PlayStation 5 is just like, I am the only thing that you can look at on this TV console. I am designed like you have to arrange everything around me rather than the Xbox, which is like I can slip right in. I'm part of this already.
The PlayStation 5 has its own gravitational pull. Absolutely,
it does.
Yes,
it really does.
And it's I like our big, loud, gaudy, beefy PlayStation 5 boy. There's something about that. As always,
I don't like it.
It's like I just like that it does not care that you think it's aggressive. Of course it is. It's a PlayStation. God damn it! I love that actually about it. Cyberpunk 2077 Phantom Liberty is coming in 2023. This is the one and big and only Cyberpunk 2077 expansion pack. Keanu Reeves is returning as Johnny Silverhand, and I don't know. I'm like, okay, this seems pretty cool. There's going to be a bunch of new storylines where you are basically going to be working with the new United States government, and then Johnny Silverhand's like, I don't think that's such a good idea. And then, oh man, intrigue. I bet
Johnny doesn't like the government.
I wonder if the government might be bad in the future. That doesn't sound like that's possible though. So I guess we'll have to see for ourselves. I'll go back to Cyberpunk. I thought it was a fine game. More storyline stuff. That some of their storylines were pretty cool, and some of their characters were very cool. So if that's like what they're leaning into with something like this, sure, count me in. But it's not like if this never came out, I would not bat an eye. I would be like, fine, that's fine. I'm like Cyberpunk. I had my time with it, and I've moved on. Is this a game where I know a lot of people really have come around on it and are really into it? Where do you sit with Cyberpunk and this Phantom Liberty content?
Well, so Cyberpunk, I really like Cyberpunk, and I also had the good fortune of playing it at launch and really not having a ton of issues.
Same, yeah.
Which I recognize is like a lucky position to be in. A lot of people had struggled with that game. They were playing it on the previous generation, which they should have been allowed to do because it was sold up for the previous generation. So of course you should be able to play it on a PlayStation 4. But with that sort of asterisk, like I really had a great time with Cyberpunk. I really enjoyed it. I like it's the CD Projekt Red game that I have played and completed and enjoyed. I even, I beat it and I had a good time with it. And I even like left a lot of side missions for the for the next gen update, right? That was kind of my idea. I was like, I beat the story. I'm going to save this stuff for when they really update it. And when they did, I ended up putting another couple hours into it and I had a really good time. So I'm excited for this DLC. I like an excuse to go back into Night City and poke around. I do think it's funny that Keanu Reeves was, he's in the trailer. He's like, I'm back. Johnny Silverhand is back. But it's clear that he's just in a recording booth as opposed to like doing motion capture and stuff like that. I don't know how much did he do a lot of motion capture?
I guess I don't know. I feel like I would have seen more of it if he definitely did. I feel like I would have
him in the leotard.
Yes, we would have seen a lot of him in the leotard if that actually had happened. So my guess is he probably mostly just did voice. Maybe he did like one major cutscene in the capture gear. I don't know.
They certainly scanned him.
I mean, a lot of your conversations with him are him being too cool for school and leaning against the wall, right? And being like, government. So,
I hate the government and I love rock.
And I have a big dick. That's was that his big line from the game? I remember him talking about like the size of his penis a lot. So I'm like, all right, Keanu, chill out, dude.
You took a different path. You made different choices than me, so that's why you ended up.
Yes, right. Listen, I looked it up to make sure I got the right choices. If you know what I mean. There's also the Edge Runners update available now for Cyberpunk 2077. This adds Roach Race minigame, which is apparently also available as a mobile game. And I believe this is a reference to Roach, the horse from Witcher, right? That's the name of the horse from The Witcher?
Yeah.
and it's like a horse racing mini game. Whatever, it looks kind of cool. I might actually just check it out on my phone.
And then Edge Runners is the anime, right?
Yes, they also showed off more stuff from the anime, which looks very cool. Coming to Netflix soon.
I'm very excited about that. The company that made it is slipping my mind right now, but they did Kill la Kill and
right,
that movie. God, I don't know. Oh, Pro Mare is really cool, and it's
I'm not familiar with that one.
They're like very front and center, like putting the Akira
Trigger. I mean, people in chat are saying Trigger. Studio Trigger sounds familiar. Okay, cool.
Yes, and then like they're putting the sort of Akira inspiration very front and center. Like the sort of first art they released was like the protagonist sort of with his back to the camera, like looking to the left. And it's like that's Kaneda. That's like 100%. That is like promotional imagery from Akira. And I love Akira and Studio Trigger. So like I'm actually more excited to watch the anime than I am to play the update.
I'm like, if I hear that it's like in even anywhere near that League of Legends anime that was very popular on Netflix, I think I will probably check it out because I like the atmosphere, I like the environment. I think my biggest issue with Cyberpunk 2077 as a game really is that when you stand back or you like stand on a balcony and you observe Night City, it was gorgeous and it looked alive and cool. And then you would try to zoom in you take your character to like go, okay, now I'm gonna go explore one of these cool little nooks I see, and you get there and it felt lifeless and sterile to me. I know some people really like the world, but for me that was my big issue. If it's a show, it's okay if it's just pretty to look at, and the show can explore these areas if it wants, and if it ignores it to tell some other story, that's fine too. It's a show, that's how it works. So I think that's where I want to be spending my time, is with like a narrative that is just controlled by a storyteller, and I'm more okay with that. Real quick, this Edge Runners update for the game also has transmog, which is important because everyone who played Cyberpunk 2077 had a character who looked like a complete dipshit. Just looked like the biggest asshat in the world, in the universe, because you were trying to max out your stats and you just ended up like putting on a clown hat with a cool leather jacket and then like short shorts, and it's like, okay, what is happening here? So now transmog, I guess for people who don't know, means that you can have whatever gear physically that you're wearing, but then you can add the effects of other gear to it, is basically how I understand it. So yeah, that's a pretty cool thing.
Yeah, that's nice.
And let me see if there's anything else. Oh, and they're completely overhauling the police system, which is another big like thing for the community, where they're like, the police do not behave in any way that feels one, realistic, or two, fun, and it doesn't really encourage sandbox play styles. So they're looking to do a lot more with that, which is a good thing.
Yeah, I don't really remember. I mean, you could just basically sprint away from the cops pretty easily.
Exactly.
Right?
Right. Yes.
Okay. Yeah.
So hopefully they add more to that. Ubisoft will reveal a bunch of Assassin's Creed stuff this weekend. This is according to a bunch of people: Tom Henderson, Jason Schreier, myself. Let's go over the games from Tom Henderson here on Try Hard Guides. Assassin's Creed Mirage, which is the Baghdad setting. Red, which is the Japan setting, and Hex, which is the Central European setting, are the two settings within Assassin's Creed Infinity, the live service game, which should also be getting announced at this thing. Or more detailed at this thing. And then there's Jade, Nexus, and Valhalla DLC. Jade is a mobile/China setting, and Nexus is the VR game. For me, the big things here are, obviously we've talked a lot about Mirage. We've talked a little bit about Red, the Japan setting. That's finally, they're doing that. That's like, they held it until their live service game. Now they're finally giving it to us. Okay, cool. Hopefully.
And that one's a rumor, because Mirage is 100% confirmed. Red is rumored still, or has that been confirmed?
Red is a rumor from all three of us now. Jason Schreier, Tom Henderson, and myself. So this is Red will for sure be getting announced at this thing. Hex is the one I wasn't sure if it would be getting announced, but it does sound like, yes, they'll be talking about it there as well. And that's what I heard. Hex, we'll go into it. I guess a little bit of spoiler for the event if you guys want to like go in blind for that. But the Central European setting should be like Germany and the surrounding areas during the Holy Roman Catholic Empire, when they were doing their witch hunting trials. And what I always heard was it's going to be Germany, and it's going to involve witches, and it's going to be spooky and grim. And I think that's got a lot of potential. To me, it's like that is okay. We're back in Europe with Assassin's Creed. We've done a lot of that before, but this feels like it completely like flips it on its head for like the potential of where the magic is sourced in this Assassin's Creed world, and actually tapping into witchcraft and seeing how that works, and finding out about the conspiracies behind the witchcraft hunting trials. Like, I don't know, that sounds exciting to me. How about you?
My mind is blown that so magic is in Assassin's Creed now, like 100%. Is that true?
I think it's going to be like, it's going to be what Assassin's Creed always does, where it's magic, but really it comes from those ancient aliens is powering this stuff. Because, like, you got to the point where the person inside the Animus was like doing stuff that was affecting stuff in the real world, right? So it's like they were like metaphysical magic is kind of where they were going.
It's not like someone's casting spells. It's just like,
and if it is, there will be another science-y explanation to it. But it's going to be them just waving their hands so they can have magic in a game. Like, yes, that's going to be the end goal here.
Okay, yeah, I have like the same trajectory with Assassin's Creed as I think many do, where it's like, played 1, all 2 and Brotherhood, and played 3 and like was really into them, and then they hit a point, and it's around Unity where everyone kind of fell off, and then you either sort of really got back on for Odyssey and Valhalla and Origins, or you kind of started those games and never really I think the one I played the most was Valhalla. Then I think that was like 20 hours or something like that. And it's one of those things where it's like, yeah, these games are cool and they look great, but it's like, it's just so intimidating to be like 20 hours into Assassin's Creed Valhalla and be like, I've played like 5% of this game. Like that. It's like scary, the idea of continuing with it, which is what makes Mirage sound so attractive. It's funny that Shorter has turned into like a marketing beat of like, that's something that makes me want to play it and gets me excited. It's like, ooh, so you're saying I can play an Assassin's Creed and maybe, like maybe finish it within like less than 30 hours. That's very enticing. Right, it might get me back on. Might get me back on board.
And it feels like they're by doing these the two-pronged system here of the live service one and the Mirage one. It feels like it frees them up to be like, no, we can just make a shorter, tighter experience that was previously DLC that we're turning into something else. And we don't have to worry about losing those other people because we know we have another thing for them right here. And it's going to have Japan, and it's going to have this cool Germany witchcraft setting. So they're going to be excited for all that stuff. And if they want to come over and play this one, they can. But if it doesn't fully satisfy their like diving into an Assassin's Creed game for 150 hours needs, oh well, there's more coming, and they know that. And so it's like, I'm hope this works out similarly to, and I've said this before, as like the Capcom Resident Evil remakes versus the Resident Evil new games, and how that like those have two different approaches, and they keep going with those approaches each time. Hopefully that can work here as well.
Yeah, I certainly like the Resident Evil approach. Like I've been enjoying that sort of, I don't know what you would call it, that sort of trajectory, I guess. Yeah. But yeah, to sort of look at maybe Assassin's Creed. Not obviously it won't be like first person versus third person. Like that's not the sort of
not
delineator there. But seeing as it is like two paths you can go down. If you want to engage with Assassin's Creed, there's two options. I'm into that. I like that. I don't want to play that live service game. I'm not interested, but I'll play a campaign, a single player offline campaign for sure.
Right. And it's like hopefully Mirage like does well enough that they can keep doing those on the side. That would be fantastic.
Do it.
Ubisoft also accidentally leaked The Division Heartland. This comes from Philip Gailkovic at Game Rant. Ubisoft may have inadvertently leaked some key information about The Division Heartland ahead of time by putting up its official store page earlier than intended. The store page has since been taken down, though it seems to remain partially accessible in some instances and may offer interested players a look at what to expect out of the upcoming Division Battle Royale. Basically, this is like Ubisoft still kind of flailing a little bit. Heartland was one that put on the shelf, and they took it back down like, okay, now we want to have one of these kinds of games going, and all our other ones have either fizzled or we are having trouble in development. Let's go back to The Division Heartland. It's going to have like PvP segments as well as PvEVP segments. So kind of... Yeah, where I think it's like right, exactly, like and it's all about like you and another group of real players kind of going after the same thing at the same time, protected by AI. Seemingly, I don't know. I think I get where Ubisoft is at with trying to take its major franchises and explore as many different avenues for expanding on those ideas as possible. We just talked about how that could be a really good thing for Assassin's Creed. it doesn't feel quite as natural of a fit to make this stuff work, but who knows? Heartland could come out and be a big battle royale. I don't know where you're at with battle royale games overall.
I don't get excited for them, but like I don't know. It's like I'm not upset they exist. I'm not upset that like other sort of IPs are, trying to make their own versions. I think if one floats to the top, then it is super fun, and that's great, But like, if I'm gonna play a battle royale, I will go play Warzone or Fortnite, and I'm pretty happy with either of those.
Dan Reichert in chat says, "Kyle, do you play Fortnite?" in all caps. So there's your answer.
Yeah,
Dan.
I play almost exclusively with my kid. When she's in the mood to play, I play with her. Although we did buy all the Dragon Ball content, my wife and my daughter, who doesn't care about Dragon Ball, but we're buying you Bulma, and she's like, okay, great, thanks. But yeah, that's to answer Dan's to answer Dan's question. It's not one that I'm like, every night playing. It's like, if there's something cool, like we'll all get together for the night and play. We threw some Kamehamehas, and then we were like, all right, we're good until the next big weird update.
Tencent is acquiring a stake in Ubisoft's family holding, which is like the holding company that holds the interests for the Guillemot family. This comes from Tom Ivan at VGC. Ubisoft has announced a major strategic partnership with Tencent. The Chinese gaming giant is set to acquire a 49.9% economic stake with 5% voting rights in the Guillemot Brothers Limited, the holding company of Ubisoft's founders. Tencent's investments in the Guillemot Brothers Limited amounts to 300 million euro, which is about $297 million. Man, the dollar did get high in value, man. Separately, Ubisoft has authorized Tencent to raise its direct stake in the Assassin's Creed publisher from 4.5% to 9.99% of the capital or voting rights, a stake it won't be able to further increase for a period of 8 years. Ubisoft said the partnership with Tencent covers the development of mobile titles from several of Ubisoft's major franchises and the launch of several of Ubisoft's PC titles in China. The French publisher's governance is unchanged by the deal, and the Guillemot family retains exclusive control of the Guillemot Brothers Limited. So, to me, this sounds like...
Yeah, this is one of those, can you explain it to me like I'm a 5-year-old situation?
Right. So here's me attempting to parse it, and I invite chat to like chip in with whatever insights anyone might have. But here's how I
and Dan Reichert's insight too. He seems like he's good with that.
Honestly,
kind of
we should just get Dan on the call and have him explain this. My reading of this is after Microsoft made the Activision move, all these companies were freaking out, and we've heard about that, and we've heard about Ubisoft being a major sort of player in that we need to figure out what's next. We need to figure out how we can either get acquired or we can merge with someone. They had conversations with other major publishers about that very thing, and those other major publishers and those other companies have mostly laughed off Ubisoft because Ubisoft has a certain amount of value that's like 5 billion market cap. I can't remember exactly everybody, but generally that's the range. And it has like that's like a fraction of what some of these other publishers are, and then it has multiple times the number of employees as these other companies. So it was never a very good target for either mergers or acquisitions. So this left Ubisoft to look around and say, what else could we do without having to like make major cuts, because we need to have these games keep coming out, because then we won't be worth anything. So I think what this reads to me like the Guillemot family finding a way to take what they have now, sell off what they can without giving up too much control, while also getting the maximum return at a time when you could still be certain that you're getting a pretty high price. Who knows what's going to happen in a year or two? The market could collapse. A recession really could come. Buyers could completely dry up, and then you'll be stuck with the stuff that now you got to keep running this company because it's not worth nearly what it was if you would have cashed out in the middle of 2022. So they aren't selling control of Ubisoft directly. They are selling control of the company that they own that owns the significant amount of Ubisoft. And so they could sell a lot of that. And this positions Tencent to be like right there to take over if they ever choose to do so. And that's fine for Tencent. Tencent is a company that likes to stand back and let the investments work. They don't necessarily always have their fingers in all these pies trying to control things. They are just there to be like, the investment is made, we have the strategic placement, and if we do need to leverage something, we can, but we from the day-to-day, we don't have to. And from the Guillemot side, it seems like, no, we could sell what we own, make a lot of money. And, Ubisoft as this corporate entity, it's almost a little bit weird that it's like, okay, you're not selling more of Ubisoft, and the Ubisoft shareholders aren't sort of getting the benefit. This is mostly benefiting the Guillemot brothers. So that makes it a little bit strange. But the Guillemot brothers, from their point of view, this is great because they're going to make a lot of money from selling half of their company and not giving up a lot of control. And then if they ever do want to give up control, there is a company right there they can go to and be like, hey, you already have this 50% stake. Pay us the rest of the money, or pay us a premium even, to take over control, so that you can make sure that your investment that you made pays off in the end. So that's the general reading I have here. It feels like a creative way for them to maximize the return on the work they've done at Ubisoft over the last 20, 25 years. I don't know if that makes sense.
Yeah. Well, it's weird to me, and I'm learning this all now. Haven't done research, but it's weird to me that Tencent seems to be investing in the family as opposed to like the family company, as opposed to Ubisoft, which is like,
it's strange.
There is a difference between those two things, but like, what is the difference between those two things ultimately?
Right. So, right. It's, and the Guillemot Brothers Limited is like, it's like their tax shelter. It's like, their limited liability corporation or whatever. And it is almost certainly the thing that actually then owns most of the shares in Ubisoft. But you're right, it is a weird extraction. Like, it's one layer up. It's one layer less deep than what you would normally expect these deals to go with. But again, it positions Tencent right, and it gets a lot of money for the Guillemot brothers. So those two sides, of the deal should be pretty happy with it. It's just if you are maybe a shareholder of Ubisoft, are you looking at this and be like, what the hell is happening? This is a little bit strange. Maybe, I don't know. I haven't looked into it that much, but
Toadpak Shakur on Twitch actually clears it up for me. They said it's about family.
Oh, okay. We should have just said that. I could have just said that. Toadpak Shakur. Thank you, Toadpak, as always. All right, let's keep this show going. Sony has a new camo PS5 controller. I don't know if I like camo on controllers. What do you think?
No, thanks.
Yeah, I mean,
I'm good. I don't even want to make jokes about not being able to see it. It's just it's not an aesthetic pleasing thing. I like the solid color. I bought the pink like shell, like that. I thought looked great, but no, I don't. I'm good on camo. No thanks.
It's a controller. It's a headset. It's the PS5 shells. I'm sure these things sell. So it's gray camouflage collection from Sony.
I mean, to be clear, like, please exist. I'm sure someone out there loves it. Like, absolutely. I'm not that person.
Right, absolutely. Sony announces PSVR 2 game Firewall Ultra. Firewall was the previous like shooter game on the PSVR 1, right? For some reason, that name Firewall just doesn't actually sound.
Oh my gosh, did I play that?
Yeah, it's the one you could get the gun for. I'm like Firewall just doesn't sound like the name of that game for some reason.
No, there was a sci-fi one that I was thinking.
Yeah,
of.
is that maybe that I might be making the same conflation.
But Firewall 0 Hour looks like a military shooter. I never played this. I don't know. I played a lot of PSVR. I did not play this one.
I think I'm making the same conflation there. Let's just read this. Firewall Ultra is the next evolution in the Firewall franchise. We're taking advantage of the new features that the PSVR 2 has to offer, and we're excited to give you a sneak peek into how we've used some of those features for Firewall Ultra. That takes us to a 50-second trailer, which I'm actually going to skip to the end to this slide right here, where they do list many of the features they're going to take advantage of. That includes finger touch detection, adaptive triggers, fast loading, haptic feedback, 4K HDR, 110 degrees field of view, and then these two ones are very interesting to me and make the PSVR 2, I think, something I actually do want to check out in VR. Eye tracking and foveated rendering. So foveated rendering is when they can track your eye, and wherever you're looking, they render that part of the screen of the VR display very well, and then everything else around it is blurry, because that's actually how vision works. And then eye tracking itself, they're going to use that for like UI, so you could switch weapons just by looking at stuff. That sounds pretty cool to me. I don't know. I'm like, that sounds
if it
like
works. That sounds cool.
So yeah, and I've used some eye tracking stuff before, the Tobii eye tracker stuff, just on my PC, where you set up this little sensor bar below your monitor, and then like wherever you're looking, it puts a little cursor, and people on like stream can watch and see where you're looking, and they send you like weird pictures, and you have to like try not to look at the weird stuff. It's a fun time. We should actually probably do a stream like that on Giant Bomb. Everybody, we'll make that happen.
So you're gonna open it up, send me pictures for me to not look at. Listen, you're gonna ask the internet for that.
No one's ever said I was a smart man, Kyle. No one's ever said that. So
just making sure you're thinking these things through.
I'm definitely never thinking things through. But it's like, okay, now that is a new interface possibility that is fresh to games, and
that sounds cool.
Has potential to be like something that could be like, oh, this is a new way of interacting with things. So I don't know. I'm interested to see how it works. I bet it is like slightly better than Kinect levels, where like you're gonna look up at a menu, try to activate a weapon, and most of the time it will work, but the times it doesn't, it's gonna be very frustrating. You're like, I wish I just had a button for this. So Microsoft's new Xbox Elite 2 core controller is more affordable at $130. This comes from Tom Warren at The Verge. Microsoft is announcing a new Xbox Elite 2 core controller today, and it's priced $50 less than the existing Xbox Elite 2. Basically, the big change here is, for one, it has a white panel on it. So this is the white and black controller we've seen leaked a bunch of times. And then the core name refers to the fact that it only comes with the controller. And if you want all of the other doodads and gizmos to add to it, you have to buy them separately. So it kind of gets your foot in the door, and then you kind of take it from there. That is only so appealing to me, but whatever. I'm sure there's people out there that'll be like happy to like, I only want the controller and then the back paddles. I'll just go buy those separately. I don't know where you're at. Where are you at with this?
Well, I have the Elite 2, which I was very excited for, but did find that I really didn't take advantage of any of the bells and whistles. The back panels I don't really use. I click them a lot because I'm a fidgety person.
Or same, yeah.
Well, no, I have them turned off, like, you know what I mean? Like, but I click them constantly during loading screens.
Oh, okay. Like I get what you mean. Like, so yeah, a fidget spinner.
Like I just play with them, but I don't actually use them to play the game. And same for like the control sticks. Like, I didn't really end up swapping them out. I just kind of end up using it as like a standard controller. So like, I think if I'm being honest with myself, like I just need to recognize that it's like, I don't know if I'm really going to take advantage of these like extra features and things like that. But I like the idea of like having a high end, premium controller that like, cause like it sucks to have to like go through controllers if you play a lot of games. And the hope here is that, you can hang on to this for a long time. It's very sturdy and works very well and has customization options that it sounds like maybe I probably won't take advantage of, but they're there.
To that end of being sturdy, one of the major complaints with the Elite Series 2 is for people who used it a lot, it would tend to fall apart. They addressed that with this announcement. They said, we've heard players loud and clear and have continued to improve Elite Series 2 controllers to be more reliable than ever before with refined components that are built to last. For added peace of mind, Elite Series 2 controllers come with Microsoft's 1-year limited warranty. So there's that. Hopefully this does mean that the big issue, I think, for most people is the grips on the handles would slowly begin to peel off, and that is very frustrating. I think Dan said he's been through a few of them. I think I know a lot of people have been through quite a few of them. Yeah. So yeah, it's frustrating.
Yeah, no, that's that kind of goes against the sort of selling point of the controller.
Right. It's sort of
peeling apart.
Right. It's like sort of unacceptable, like on a fundamental level for like, if I'm paying $180 for a controller, the one thing it can't do is fail and fall apart.
Right, yeah.
Xbox Elite 2 controllers will also be customizable in the Xbox Design Lab later this year. Microsoft is bringing its Xbox Elite 2 controllers to the company's Xbox Design Lab. This will enable you to add whatever color variants you want. Let's see, I got this right here. Oh, that's too loud. Sorry, everybody. I'm muting it now. There we go. It's not going to work anyhow. It's like glitching out on me. But you can kind of see some of the colors there in the Xbox Design Lab. It looks... obviously this stuff looks pretty cool. I think the Design Lab is like one of my favorite things that Xbox has done with its hardware. There we go. Now I got it in there.
Cool.
And so yeah, we've been waiting for them to add the Xbox Elite controllers to this as an option for a long time, and now finally they've done that. Is this something you ever see yourself taking advantage of?
Maybe. I don't know. Because it's mostly just like cool designs and colors and stuff like that, right? That's what you're talking about?
Yes, exactly. Yes. I had fun. They gave me a code once to do it, and I had a lot of fun doing it. And it's to the point where it's like, if I ever needed to give a gift, I would probably do it not with an Elite controller, but with like a standard controller, because it's fun to like add your favorite team's colors to your controller or whatever. That's neat.
Yeah, it is. It's a cool thing. I don't know. I'm kind of like I've said, like, I don't know, meat and potatoes kind of guy when it comes to controllers. It's like I just wanted to work. I'm not really looking at it too much, but
the standard controllers are
that
very good, right? These days they're very good.
Yeah, so like I don't know, personally I would do a lot of it, but I think it's cool.
All right, let's speed run this catch up real quick. New games on Xbox Game Pass: Disney Dreamlight Valley, DC League of Super Pets, You Suck at Parking, Train Sim World 3, Despot's Game, Metal Hellsinger, Opus Magnum, and Escalation are all available now through Xbox Game Pass. Disney Dreamlight Valley will eventually be free to play, but this gets you access to the early access version and with like extra features and stuff like that. I am going to start playing that today.
These are games that launched today on a Wednesday?
It might have been. This might have been from yesterday, so it could have launched on Tuesday. So from this week, basically. Yeah.
I didn't know Metal Hellsinger was out already.
That's cool. Did not know that actually. Literally until I put it in here in the dock earlier, and it just did not register with me. I guess that's out now. So okay, very cool. Yeah, people have been saying good things about Disney Dreamlight Valley.
Good.
And people in the chat are saying it's gonna be Mike Minotti's game of the year. He's a big Disney guy, so yeah. Twitch is getting rid of host mode. Basically, they're like, no one really used it. People prefer to send raids, and so we're going to focus on that. I feel like they've deprecated this feature a long time ago, where like hosting is very subtle, and instead they're going to add a feature where you can recommend other streamers, and they will just kind of show links to that. We'll see how that actually ends up working.
And
but
is this the feature where you could say, like, if I'm not streaming and such and such is streaming, just have them appear on my stream?
Exactly. But even when you would do that, it would still be like there's like this weird sort of visual UI gate above that. It's like they're offline, this person's online instead, and there's like a whole bunch of words and text over it, and it just didn't look very inviting ever. It felt like
I have it turned on for someone who was streaming a lot in the past but doesn't stream much anymore. So I used it, but like not actively. It wasn't something I was like paying attention to or anything.
And then new PS5 system update is out. 1440p HDMI video output is the highlight there. We've talked about this before, but it's available now for you to update. You can also get game lists. So if you really want to keep track of your collection, now you can do that. All right, let's get to the polls with this one. We asked this on, I don't even remember, several days ago, Friday, I think. Will Sonic Frontiers break the Sonic cycle? And then we defined that as getting an 80 plus on Metacritic. And the answer is 71.1% say no, 28.9% say yes. I am becoming more and more confident in this game, Kyle, even though I was trashing on it a lot earlier. Something about it is starting to look really fun to me. I don't know. Do you think there's any chance that this game gets better than an 80 on something like Metacritic?
No. But optimistically, and I think maybe I'm in the same boat as you, I think it will be one like Sonic Generations, where it's like, this is one of the better ones.
Yeah.
Like, that's my hope for it. Because I see it, and there are parts of it where I'm like, this looks cool. I like the idea of an open area Sonic. It's not open world necessarily, right? But that's my prediction, right? It's like low Metacritic, but like general positivity when compared to other Sonic games, right? One of the better 3D Sonic games is my hope, and that's my prediction.
All right, let's pop in a new question for tomorrow, everybody. I think we'll go with an Elite controller question. Let's see. Do you have or do you want in let's see, do you have or do you plan to get a pro style controller for your console? And then we'll post that up and we'll answer that one tomorrow. Let's add the poll option. In the meantime, Kyle, where can people find you? Not in like life, not like what's your address? Don't dox yourself.
Not my home address.
Right, please.
Gosh,
I had to stop you. I know what you were about to do. But on the internet, where can people find you?
So yeah, I GameSpot. That's my day job. KyleMHilliard on Twitter, and then MinMax with 2 N's. I'm there a lot. I still am heavily involved in MinMax, which I enjoy a lot. So you can find me over there. And then while I'm plugging things, if you don't mind, I want to make sure to plug tomorrow at I wrote this down so I didn't get it wrong. At 10 a.m. Pacific time tomorrow, we're doing the GameSpot Swipe Showcase, which is this hour-long show that's going to have a lot of, exclusive premieres and details for mobile games exclusively, right? Like a lot of other folks, like the Jeff Keighley's of the world, they're taking care of the console and PC world. We're going to try to focus on mobile, and we're going to have stuff for the Division Resurgence, and we're going to have stuff from Activision. We're going to have stuff from EA. We're going to have smaller mobile games, and it's going to be cool. It's coming together. I'm like looking at it. I'm looking at it now. Like we're nearing the finish line. It's going to be this hour-long show. So Greg Miller is hosting it. Tamor is going to be in the show. He's co-hosting as well. So tomorrow, Thursday, September 8th at 10 a.m. Pacific time on GameSpot's various streaming channels, the Swipe Showcase. Please watch it. It'll be cool.
Let everyone tune in for that. It's a lot of fun. They've been putting a lot of work into that, everybody over at GameSpot.
Yeah.
So please, let's pay off that hard work with some attendance. Here on Giant Bomb right now, we are going to go and play some Eternal Darkness with Jeff Bakalar. He's going to take over the stream. Me and Dan are going to sit in there. I'm going to order some lunch, and I'm going to have it delivered. And who knows if it'll show up. Maybe things will go crazy because Eternal Darkness. But I'm looking forward to playing more of that, or watching Jeff Bakalar play more of that. Then I think tomorrow, Sonic 06 after Game Best Mornings with Dan Reichert.
Ooh.
And then on Friday, yes, we did one episode.
That's a terrible game to play, but a wonderful game to stream.
It's been so sweet. It's been so sweet to just sit there and watch him play it and struggle with it.
Yeah.
And
we played through it at Game Informer, and it was one of our best full playthroughs. It's fantastic.
The plan is, I think, this week to introduce, and shout out to the Reddit for just suggesting this, an or else clause where he plays Sonic 06 to completion or else, and we will decide what the or else is at some point during during tomorrow's stream. And then on Friday, I'll be playing Xenoblade Chronicles after the Game Best Mornings. And then, of course, we have all our other shows. Please tune in for all that. But for now, stick with us. Kyle, thank you so much for hanging out with me today. It was awesome.
Yeah, thanks for having me. And I mean, I meant to say at the beginning, but what a great idea. Daily news show.
Someone finally thought of it. Someone finally thought of it, and it was me. Give me all the prizes now for all the good ideas. Yeah,
that's good. To be fair, the joke I'm making here is I did a daily news podcast. It wasn't my idea. Someone brought it to me, so I can't take credit for it either. But
that's
a good idea. It's good. It's a good show.
It turns out it's been a pretty good idea so far. I'm glad I stole it. And then thank you everyone for watching. Please, you're the best audience in gaming. Please tune back in tomorrow. We'll have more for you then. Until then, however, have a good one. Take care of yourself, and goodbye. We're out of here.